Hey guys! So today I am here with Chevy. He wanted to be in the video, and my sister has some books that she read that she wanted to share. So today we're just gonna do a quick August wrap up video of all the great books we read. I'm like really proud of myself. I got through quite a few books this month, so
did I.
Yeah, you did. You got
I got through 3 books, which is more books than I've read like for or like leisurely in years, honestly. So I'm pretty proud of myself.
Alright, so we're just gonna get started. I got through probably like 4 books too, so yeah, we'll just go back and forth and talk about the books that we got. And Chevy's gonna be here
for now.
Trifling baby. Alright, so let's get started. So Courtney is gonna go first. And yeah, since she's the guest, so you can go.
Okay, so the first book that I read is one that's probably familiar to you if you guys have watched my sister's channel. It's Chicken by Chase Knight. I actually heard about this book from watching my sister's channel. I thought that you did a spoiler-free review.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I watched that and I thought that the book sounded really interesting. My sister was actually like, oh, you're not gonna like it. It's not like anything you read. I'm more into contemporary young adult novels. And this is young adult, but it's, what do you say, surrealism or something?
It's kind of got like a paranormal aspect to it, I guess.
Yeah, it's like paranormal and stuff, and
yeah, I would say urban fantasy, but it doesn't really take place in an urban setting.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know.
Because I don't really like fantasy, like the full-blown fantasy. I need something that's like a little more grounded in reality. No offense, like the fantasy lovers and stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed Chicken. It goes pretty slow. Like, I don't think a major event happens until halfway through the book.
Mm-hmm.
So it does go pretty slow, and then at the end a lot of things happen in a really short period of time, but I really enjoyed it. I think the characters were great. I think the story was great. It kind of made me think about a different person's side and how they deal with things. I think my sister mentioned this like in her review, but we did grow up in a more rural community, so I could relate to that aspect of the characters, but I definitely couldn't relate to other aspects of their lives. And so I think that it was like good to see a different perspective to growing up in a rural environment. And I really enjoyed the book. I hope that he writes the other 2 that are supposed to accompany it.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's the middle book in a trilogy, which I think is really interesting. And I'm really excited to read the rest of them. I would give this book honestly like a 4 or 4.5. One of my favorite books by far.
So I talked a little bit about there's this like kind of plot twist, I guess, towards the end of the novel, and I will have my full review linked up above and below in the description. But like, how did you feel about the plot twist at the end? Did it bother you? Like, I just felt like, well, she kind of knew what was gonna she kind of had a guess about what was gonna happen, but to me it just kind of came out of nowhere, and I felt like the story would have been so much better without, I guess, that fantasy element into it. Like, I don't think it was necessary. Like, what do you think?
So I really enjoyed the fantasy bit of it, because I think it was like just enough dose of it. Like, I feel like the whole rest of the book was so real and so believable and very, like, relatable that little bit of fantasy just kind of reminded me that it was a book. I think you really kind of get lost in, like, the narrator and the main character. Like,
it's so, like, mundane and, like, day-to-day, yeah.
So you kind of get lost in it, and I think that little bit of, like, fantasy just is, I think that's what it needed. So, I don't know. Like, I thought it was super interesting. It doesn't make sense, but I'm okay with that. Like, I finished it and I had to go to you and I was like, okay, how did we like know this? Like, give me all the context clues and stuff. But I, like, honestly, it's one of my favorite books. Really enjoyed it, and I think that the fantasy part was necessary. I really liked it.
I already also did a full review on this book on my channel, so I'll have that linked in the description for you as well if you want to check it out. But I finished Resurgence by A.J. Flower, and I received a copy of this book in return for an honest review, and like I said, I have that up. So I won't talk about it too much, but if you're looking for something that has like a strong female character, you enjoy like paint planes or like stories set like in the early 1930s, I feel like this is a really great book. It's a little, I've had a few problems with it, but for the most part, I really liked it. There was kind of this Indiana Jones mystery feel to it, so definitely worth checking out if you're interested in those things.
The next book that I read was When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. I think that's how you pronounce it. My sister got me this book as a graduation present when I graduated from college, and it's about a doctor who was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer during his residency, and it talked about the battles that he had internally, the stress that it put on his wife, and how it affected his job. And I think it really just put things into perspective for me. I'm hoping to go to medical school and become a doctor, so it was just very interesting to see how so much work was jeopardized. And I just can't imagine, you know, what it would be like to deal with a diagnosis like that. But the book was really great. It brought me to tears kind of towards the end. I had a few little stragglers I thought were gonna fall, but yeah, overall a really great book. I don't know if it's for everyone. I think that if you can kind of relate to the struggle, and I can't even really relate to the struggle because I'm not in residency and I'm not trying to become a neuroscientist, but I can relate to the struggles of like wanting something and giving a lot of your time to that and then realizing it could all kind of fall apart very soon. So I thought the book was really, really great.
So as you guys know, I've read quite a few books by Kazuo Ishiguro on my channel, like The Remains of the Day, which I probably haven't talked to a lot about, but the one that I talked to mainly was The Buried Giant. And while I particularly enjoyed this book, I thought I would check out his book, Never Let Me Go. And I have to say that while this book is written really well, it kind of was boring to me in some parts, and the story just, it didn't really click with me. Like personally, I didn't enjoy the story, but I can see why people enjoy it and why people think it's a good book. The writing is really beautifully done. I like how he tackles friendships, but I just really wasn't in love with the story at all. And it was kind of slow, but I was kind of used to that from his style of writing. Like especially, it's very similar to the book The Remains of the Day, where you have the main narrator kind of narrating their life story, but they're all go off in tangents like to a different memory, or in things are revealed in like very slow, tiny snippets. So if you're really not into a character-driven story, or you're looking for something with more action, I would not suggest this book. But if you like really slow-moving books that are about characters and that are just more about the human condition, I guess, this is a really interesting and intriguing book. I think it brings up a lot of issues, and I feel like it's definitely something worth reading. It just wasn't my favorite book personally that he's written, and it wasn't really the style. Like I absolutely loved Remains of the Day, like, so the slow pace was not an issue for me. It was just really the story that was just not appealing. I don't know why, it just wasn't that interesting.
So the last book I read in August was Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. I saw this book in Target. I read the inside jacket and I thought it was a really interesting book. It's about a girl with a disease where she's basically born without an immune system. So she has to live in a very sterile environment, which is obviously very isolating. She meets a boy, you know, you can kind of predict the rest. I really was hoping that the book went more into the disease. I guess that's just because that's kind of what intrigued me about the book. It didn't, but that was okay. It was a really interesting book. It moved pretty quickly. so that was nice. It definitely is a book for a younger crowd. I don't know if that was like to be expected. I kind of thought it was like for an older crowd.
Oh, so you think for like what, high schoolers or
Younger? Because I finished it in 2 hours, so it was a pretty easy read. They kind of do a mix of like, I don't know what's the word, but like traditional writing, and then they do like
journal entries or
instant message, journal entries, drawing. So it kind of has like a combination of different like writing forms. So yeah, the book moved very fast. The ending was like shocking, but I kind of predicted the ending. Like I didn't predict it, like I wasn't like, oh, this was gonna happen, but I thought for like a split second, I was like, I wonder if this is it, and that ended up being it. So I wasn't totally shocked by the ending, but it was interesting. I think that that was a nice twist. I think it kind of brings in a lot of other important issues, but the book was really good, and I'm excited to possibly read something more from this author because I really liked it.
Yeah, and she has the movie for everything. Everything's
yes,
coming out soon.
The movie for everything is coming out, and Amandla Stanberg, I think, is going to be in it. She was Rue in Hunger Games. She was like a favorite, I feel like, when that movie came out. So I'm really excited to see her in the book.
Yeah, I have to check it out because I haven't read it yet, but yeah, it seems like an interesting book. So the next book that I read was Artemis Awakening by Jane Lindskold, and this was kind of just a browsing. I was shopping on a book outlet, and I always instantly go for the books that I have on my wish list, and then I kind of take a few minutes to kind of see what else is out there, just to see if I'm interested in anything else. And this one kind of caught my eye. I thought the cover was pretty cool, and it's basically about a planet that's like this utopia that this advanced civilization created, that was meant to be this utopia where really rich people could go and kind of enjoy a vacation. And then after that civilization was destroyed, like the location of the planet was kind of unknown. So it talks about like a scientist who kind of was searching for the planet, finds it, and then gets stranded on the planet. So it's pretty interesting. I was actually really surprised how much I enjoyed it. There is a second book to this, and I thought it was really great sci-fi. Like, it was different than anything that I've really ever read in the sci-fi genre, and it was pretty interesting. And it's not an entirely long book, but I felt like a lot happened, and it's just, I don't know, I just really was surprised how much I enjoyed it. There's like a love triangle, which I'm not a big fan of in most books, but I think it was done really well here. There's kind of like a twist to it, so that was interesting. And I just felt like this is definitely a good book if you're super into sci-fi and you're looking for something new. I don't know too much about this author either, so yeah, it was just great that I got to find this, and I cannot wait to get to the second one because I'm really curious to see how the book ends. But yeah, really enjoyed it. So this is the last book that I read in August, and it's called Sold by Patricia McCormick, and this is also a pretty short book. I actually finished it in one sitting, and I heard about this book on Prose Project a while back, and it's basically about a girl that gets sold into sex trafficking, and it kind of just tells her story. And it takes form in in poetry. It's not really like a narrative. It's all like just small poems. And I think that was like a really big craze like in the early 2000s. Like, you know, when they had like, I don't know, like those books that were just purely poetry.
I know what you're talking about.
And
There's like 10 of them.
Yeah, and I don't know, it just bothered me. I don't understand why it needed to be poetry. Like, this book, I feel like a lot of the little snippets were very beautiful and beautiful described, but I just was not a big fan of the poetry. Like, I thought the story was important and something that we should all be like reading and kind of learning about, but to me, I felt a little detached from the character because of the poetry, and it just wasn't a straightforward narrative, so you kind of go in and out of her story, and it's just, I don't know, like I really was hoping to like this book more, but I just wasn't a big fan of the poetry. I felt like there could have been so much more detail if it was written in like a narrative style. So that's my only main concern, but I thought the book was really great. The main character is definitely very strong, and it's a very sad story. You really kind of get to see the, like, how real, like, she does, like, Patricia McCormick does not sugarcoat the story at all. It's a very real taking of what it's like to be in that situation. So I enjoyed this, but I really was expecting more, I guess, from it, but I thought it was pretty good though. So guys, this has probably been one of my longest wrap-ups, but I wanted Courtney to come out here and kind of just show some of the books that she's been reading, that I've been encouraging her to read
for a really long time. Like this, I've had like this TBR since I was like 10. No, like for a really long time. So I'm glad that I finally had some spare time to read them, and I really enjoyed them all. So I'll be reading some more.
Yeah, so this was definitely, I would say, was definitely a good reading month. I feel really accomplished in the books that I got, and I really was happy with all the books. Like, none of them were bad in any way. So, oh, also I have a giveaway going on right now too, if you want to go ahead and sign up for that. I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary on BookTube, so yay! And I'm giving one lucky person any book of their choice, so I will put the video... paperback book of their choice. So I will put the video with all the rules, how you can enter to win, all down in the descriptions below, so please check that out if you are interested in a free book. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!
Bye!
Right, and now I'm gonna put him down, so.
Okay.
Should we down?
Baby. Down. No. Down.
Down, baby.
Don't fight it, baby. Down.
Chevy down.
Down.
Down, Chevy. My first giveaway on this channel, so I'm super excited. And I didn't really know, like, if I should just pick a random book or what. So I figured, oh, yeah, there's my dog playing with his ball.